welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Carly and I am a homeschooling mom to 3 boys ages 12, 10, and 6. So currently they are in 6th grade, 4th grade, and 1st grade. And I just wanted to show you today just a little idea that we have used this year that has worked really well, especially as my kids are getting older, as far as library books go. And so in the past, when they were little, they would just pick out whatever story was at the library because we were all doing picture books. And so it was just this big bin of picture books that we would get when we would go and bring them home and read them. But as my boys are getting older and reading, 2 out of the 3 of them are mostly reading chapter books that they pick out either from our bookshelf at home or from the library. I've wanted to be more intentional this year about the library books that we are picking out and the way that I'm displaying them to make sure that they're still getting the most out of using the library and the topics that we are focusing on from the library, which sounds like more work. I know when you're in the library, it's like that time where you can just let your kids like pick out whatever, but I feel very strongly about the content that is in my kids' library books, and I still very much love to read picture books with all my kids, but I also really like a lot of informational books, little tidbits of things that they can learn throughout the year that might not necessarily be what we're learning like in our unit studies or our science or our social studies, but things that I think are super fun. And one of the best things about homeschooling is you can learn about kind of the subjects that are here and there and everywhere, and as interests change throughout the year you can kind of focus in on some of those things. Or I found that I found a lot of interest with my kids in picking out unique and different topics from the library. So with that being said, the way that we've done this year is I'm actually sitting in our dining room, which is also where we do most of our schooling. My house has really high ceilings. It's old, so if this is a little echoey, I hope it's not, but I apologize if it is. But I wanted to show you, like, my dining room is right behind or in front of me here, and this is where we keep this little shelf, which I'm sure you guys have seen these types of shelves. They were pretty popular when my kids were young. I actually got this from my sister-in-law, and it worked out perfectly to put it right by my dining room table where my kids do school and where we eat our meals. And the reason why I put it here is because what I've done is I display every week or every 2 weeks. I pick out different books from the library. Sometimes they help me with them. And then when my kids are eating breakfast, which is more of like an independent meal, and they don't always eat at the exact same time, because like my 10-year-old wakes up at like 6:30 in the morning, and after my husband goes to work, he eats breakfast. And then my oldest son, he's getting a little older, and so sometimes he won't wake up until like 7:30, 8 o'clock. So our breakfasts at times are a little varying. I know a lot of families like to eat a big breakfast together, but that's just not our big meal that we sit down all together for. And so what I found is my kids have a lot of time during breakfast where they're eating, sometimes by themselves, and what they do is if these books are out here, they grab one and they start reading it. And it's been really beautiful to watch them do that this year by just putting a bookshelf by my dining room table. So I just wanted to kind of go through what I have here. Maybe one of these books will spark your interest. None of these are things that I own. This is all library based, and I thought it might be fun to start kind of a series on what's in our library basket, what's on our library shelf, that I can do like once a week or every 2 weeks. So comment down below if that's something that you're interested in. I love to see what everyone's reading without necessarily needing to constantly purchase new things because books are expensive. So the first thing that I'm going to show you is all the different topics that I've picked out for this week that are just on this shelf. There's actually a couple of things that I'm also reading, even though they're children's books. They've sparked my interest, and so my older son and I are reading a couple of the same ones and kind of talking about them. So they're a great talking piece too. My son is 12 and he connects with me through books and topics, especially historical based books, and so that has been really fun for the both of us to do as well. So what I've done is I've tried to get a variety of topics and then things that I know each of my boys might pick up and be interested in. And then if they don't get picked up, and it's been a week or two, we just return them to the library, and you're not out any money, which is really great. So the first one I got, because this was actually a conversation that we had. We started talking about the Golden Gate Bridge because of something else, another topic in a different book that we were talking about. And there were some questions, so I found this book. It's called Golden Gate, Building the Mighty Bridge. And it's like basically the whole history of the Golden Gate Bridge. So this was sparked by something else that we were talking about. And so I saw it at the library and I had to grab it. My son is actually starting scuba lessons in the spring, and so I thought this one would be a cool one for him. Dive, the story of breathing underwater. And then this one here just looked fun, and it was one of their new books, all about Mount Everest, the remarkable story of Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay. I hope I'm saying that right. I apologize if I'm not. I find that, well, at least the way my library is set up, they always have like a huge section of new books, and I find a lot of really interesting topics in that new section. This one is the Library of Alexandria. I love anything like historical about libraries. Like, I love to read about old libraries, historical fictions about libraries, and so does my son, and so I thought this one would be a really cool one. Again, this is a lot of words, but sometimes even if they read a chapter or two or a couple of pages, it sparks an interest, or it starts a conversation that you would never have otherwise. And then this one we've actually already read because my youngest son is very into World War II right now. And this one's called Rags, Hero Dog of World War I. He's into World War II, but obviously he really liked this one as well. And this one is really cute, and it's a true story about a dog from World War I. And then this one just looked cool. This was, again, from the new shelf, The World of Rot. Learn all about wriggly, slimy, super cool decomposers we couldn't live without. And is this a DK? No, this isn't a DK book, but it looks really cool. Again, a lot of information, and we're not using this for like a unit study or a science unit. It's just for them to gather little bits of information throughout their day when they have some downtime. This one is Up Periscope, How Engineer Ray Monti Revolutionized Shipbuilding. My kids are really into ships. We have a Ship Watcher app on my phone because we have a lot of ships here where we live, and we're right by the water, and so that one was really fun to read as well. And of course, going along with that same thing, How Ships Work. Explore the world of ships inside and out with loads of flaps to lift. I don't think you ever get too old for a lift the flap book, in my opinion, but of course my 6-year-old is like really into these right now. And this, he can't read by himself, of course, but this is something that him and we have more downtime than the other two do with school because he's 6, he gets his work done very fast, and so him and I will pick a couple pages out of some of these books and just sit down on the floor in the afternoons by the fire, and we like to flip through them and read them. World War I, Witness to War. This was one that I thought my youngest and my oldest would like, and also my husband. He likes anything war related. And then this one is called The Spectacular and Mostly True Adventures of Annie Kopczowski. It's called Amazing Annie. I believe, we haven't read this one yet, but I believe she was the first woman to bicycle around the world. Anyway, it looks really good. I could probably give you a better review after I've read it. And then this one is one of the ones that I'm reading, and my 12-year-old is reading as well, is the Unofficial Alcatraz Handbook, and it was written by somebody that actually worked as a tour guide at Alcatraz for a really long time, and it's been really, really interesting. I'm actually on chapter 8, and so is he. So we've been talking and chatting about that, which is fun. Even when I take him to basketball practice, or we're running to the store to grab something for dinner, it's another thing to chat about and connect with him about, because my goal as he gets older is to continue that connection and conversation. I'm starting to just get into the almost teen years, and I know it's probably going to be tough, but I really want to continue to connect with him, at least through books. because that is something that we both truly love. And then the last one that I have on the shelf is the Junior Plant Lovers Handbook, a green thumb guide for kids. We have a very, very small backyard. We actually share a driveway where we are, so we live right in town. But we do have we're getting rid of our swing set. We've grown out of our swing set, and so my husband is going to build some raised beds this summer, and I thought it would be fun to start thinking about what the boys would like to plant in their mini garden in the city kind of thing. We actually live in like a northern town. It's not the city, but we definitely don't have a lot of land. So if you're a homeschooler who also lives where you don't have a lot of property, it's possible, and I hear you and I see you. It's not always easy when your kids can't run around like crazy on a lot of land, but we make it work and we have a lot of fun with it. Okay, with that being said, I've also tried to be intentional about the picture books that I'm reading with my 6-year-old. Now, of course, that he can always pick out like fun, cute ones. He's really into like cute things right now. But I like to tie in some like historical fiction or just different topics that are more intentional and we're learning a little bit of something, or just I'm really into like the older books that are very beautiful and not so cartoony, and almost a lot of the newer books, to me, in my opinion, look very more like a comic book, and that's just something that I kind of steer away from. But of course, every family is different. Those can be really great too. So I thought I'd just show you what's in our library basket this week. We have the ones that I put out here, and then I have like a basket that my 6-year-old can pick from every day. And my 12 and 10-year-old usually end up joining in on these. And so this one is Planting Stories, The Life of Librarian and Storyteller. I probably am not going to say this name right, so I apologize. Pura Belpre. So that one looks really good. And then of course we've had a lot of snow here in Michigan, and so this one looked beautiful. It's called Snowed In. It's like very hygge. It's very like what I dream of, except for my schedule is really busy and I don't live in this time period, but it's beautiful. This is George Washington's Spectacular Spectacles, The Glasses That Saved America. This one again is just really beautiful. It's called Butterfly House. I'm dreaming of spring. This one here looks really interesting. It's called One Day, A True Story of Survival in the Holocaust. We're really into reading about the Holocaust here, and so I thought this would be fun to read with my younger kids because they're not always involved in the conversations like me and my 12-year-old and my husband are. This one is just, I got it because it looked fun going along with like the ship theme, Heroes of the Surf. This one, so the librarian, when I checked this out, said it is sad. I haven't read it yet, but I think somebody passes away in it. So if your kids are really sensitive, maybe you should steer away from this one. I don't know if it's the grandpa or the dog. I think my kids would probably be more emotional if the dog died, because they have a dog and they could understand where they're coming from. Anyway, it's called Up Toward the Light. It's really pretty. That's why I picked it out. My kids love dogs. And then currently we are working through The Good and the Beautiful Space Unit. We've been slowly working through it because we've been focusing a lot on going to the planetarium every Friday, because there's a really, really great gentleman that does the planetarium shows, and he does a different one every Friday, and I'm learning like right along with my kids. He just is a very soft-spoken, very knowledgeable man, and so we've been not doing as many unit study lessons as going and learning from this gentleman, who's just very, very interesting. But along that line of space, I've been trying to pick out just a couple books that we can read about space. This one is Clouds in Space, Nebulae, Stardust, and Us. This one is The Universe, Discover What Lies Beyond Our Skies. If any of these, if you want to see like a complete flip through of any of these, please let me know, because I think I've been talking about this for a while, but I'm going to start doing flip through Fridays. I'm going to start with curriculum because this is like the time of year everyone's ordering curriculum, but I'm happy to also do regular books as well. And then this one is Amazing Night Sky Atlas we have a telescope, nothing fancy, but we do have a telescope, and I thought this would be fun to use, maybe flip through. My 6-year-old, his favorite thing about space so far is the constellations, and so I got this hoping maybe we could kind of use it and utilize it a little bit in our space study. So that is all of our what's in our library basket this week books. I hope some of these maybe spark some interest. Maybe you can, apply this idea in some form to your homeschool. I would suggest maybe putting it where your kids are frequently at, like by your dining room table, or where they do their quiet time, because I have found my kids have learned so many fun little tidbits from all the different topics they have just independently picked up a book and read about. So as always, thank you so much for stopping by, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!